Yes, brothers and sisters, we've been studying my journey for the last 2 episodes. However, which is a journey basically of how I descended from innocence into a life of crime and eventual drug and alcohol addiction, and so forth, violence and so forth, and homelessness and so forth. And I'll leave it there, because now I'm joined with another brother, Wesley. And I'm not going to say who he is or what he does or this and that. You know, he's going to tell you all that. Save my breath for other things. You've got to learn how to, economize. We're sharing, you know what I mean? So here we go. One love, brother. Bless
love,
brother. Every time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, so go ahead, brother.
Well, thanks for having me. Unfortunately, my voice doesn't sound as epic as yours. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. My name's Wesley. I'm a music producer, musical director. I'm involved in a lot of the shows that are done in the UK, mainstream shows, everyone from WizKid, D-Block Europe, did Tiny Temper, Ret 32 back in the day, produced with Naughty Boy, Emily Sandé, a few others, so my journey...
Can you give us a little bit about your history?
Yeah.
From a young age.
From a young age,
yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So... yeah, I grew up mainly with my mum.
Yeah.
My dad left when I was around 4. My mum and dad split up. They were both young parents. And then so a lot of my childhood I remember with my mum, and then with my dad in certain places. Certain key places. Yeah. Like he definitely influenced me musically.
Yeah.
And he would talk about music in such a way I knew I got my passion for music from him. And then so from a young age I was into music, absolutely loved music to bits, and that kind of felt like a safe space for me, music, from early on. I recognised that. So there'd be times where there'd be arguing or whatever going on in the house, and I'd just be in my room on the keyboard, or just made the drawing some inventions I was trying to think up of at the time. I was like 6 or 7. So I'd always been into kind of music and that kind of stuff. And then at school I joined a gospel choir, and that kind of changed the direction of my life, because there was a whole new... Before that I knew like 4 chords on the guitar. And then when I joined the gospel choir, I heard sounds that I'd never heard before.
What age was that?
I was like 13. Okay. Yeah, I was about 13. And I'd auditioned for the gospel choir to play guitar by playing and singing Wonderwall. And they were like, yeah, all right, stick to the guitar. I was like, okay, I get the message. But then... like really, my musical vocabulary changed, because I've heard all of these major 7 chords and this chord flat 5 plus 6, all of that, and I didn't know what on earth I was doing. I was way behind the curve. It felt like a whole new world had appeared, and I didn't know anything about it, and it intrigued me. I loved it, and then from there, that was it. I was just hooked on music. And then at school they had a studio. I would sneak in before school started, like as soon as the buildings were open, and my music teacher was a lovely bloke, so he would just let me in, and then I'd end up getting late into lessons because I was just stuck in the studio and just trying to work, and there was no one to teach me how to use it. I just was there trying stuff out, just pressing buttons and seeing what it did, and kind of just spend a lot of time just working. It felt like a puzzle for me, which was super dope. And I love making music. I wasn't very good at it yet, but I just wanted to try it all the time. And then that was it. I was super hooked. So as soon as I left school, I went to college to do music. But 2 months in, I got a phone call with an opportunity to go on tour and to be a roadie on tour and set up the band. I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah. I'd never set up a band before. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I'd been around enough bands and musicians to kind of know roughly how to set up a drum kit, but not on a tour. So it was again that steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And I loved it. The kind of challenge of it was like, all right, cool. Let's work out if I could get through this without getting sacked. But then I loved it. Loved the tour. Loved setting up. Loved being a part of it. Loved seeing that there was a whole crew that went behind making this show happen. I learnt a lot at that age. I was like 16 when I was on that tour, and that was with the London Community Gospel Choir. That was my first kind of. And again, I was like, okay, now I'm hooked to this. I want to be on tour. I want to be performing. And then just from there, I just kept chasing and chasing. Mainly worked in the gospel industry for the first younger part of my life. Became a gospel producer. Worked on, like, the first album I produced was a live gospel album, which was a bit nuts. Nowadays it's just like, you know, most people learn on the computer and never really get to do a live thing. My first innings with, like, all right, give you a chance to produce it, was a live album. So it was again another big learning curve, but the challenge for me again was
good.
That was a great age to get involved with all that, because it kept you out of trouble as well.
100%.
Doing something you really loved, and
Definitely.
that's what happens to a lot of youths out there. You know, they just haven't found their groove, or some way, in one way or another, and they end up going down the drain. You know,
definitely.
HMP and all the mental health act and all that kind of
definitely.
nonsense.
And I think the school I went to was St David's and St Catherine's, and a lot of people, it was a rough school, it was a tough school. But like you said, I was just away with music. So for a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I grew up with went through stuff that I when they told me that, I was like, whoa, I had no idea. I was just off in the studio trying to work out what Apple Z does. So it was a saving grace, and I'm fully aware of that. God put that in my life to help me. And it kind of distracted me, same way when I was a kid, when being around the arguments, music would be that safe space. It was also that safe space continuously as I've grown up.
Wonderful.
But yeah, so and that was it. When I came out of school, music was the thing that I was doing. Did it in church for a long time, and then in 2009, some friends of mine that I'd grown up in church with was doing Tiny Tempers live, and the gig was growing fast, and they needed a programmer to come on board, and I'd been producing. So even though I hadn't done a lot on that level, my knowledge base was already high enough to just jump straight in and do Tiny. So there was a lot of learning on the job, but I jumped straight in, and then that was it. We did Tiny, Wretch, and then from there, again, I was hooked. And then we did all the big tours. We did his arena tour, which was fantastic. And I learned a lot about music, about sound, how it works, how it affects people. You see it firsthand in a room full of 20,000 people, all moving to the same movement, the same moments. You know what I mean? The same. You set up these moments in the shows. You see how it affects people. You see how it moves people. You start to see this relationship that there is between what we hear and how we feel. This emotional connection.
Well, funny you should say that, because I remember in a crack house, which was once a beautiful family home, and then it just descended into being a crack house, and I remember on this occasion I'm there as well, smoking crack in those days, and drinking alcohol, and there was this argument going on, these boys, house full of men arguing, crackheads, and the younger ones were arguing, and there's rap music going on, that kind of violent rap music, that dark rap, and all them kind of things there. So everyone is doing their stuff, pushing up their chest. So the proprietor said, let me change the mood, and he put on a nice R&B tune. And everybody changed.
Instantly. 100%. It sets the atmosphere. It can change the atmosphere.
For real.
But at the same time on this journey, I was also like, especially when I started doing the bigger tours, It was, on one side my life was going fantastic with music and my career, and then on the other side it was falling apart, and stuff was just tough. Lots of the same way that I was always just out with the fairies looking at music, there's the same way that sometimes I just didn't deal with stuff in my life. I just would carry on. So I got to a point where alcohol was helping me just carry on.
What age would you say that was?
I'd say I started drinking heavily in like maybe 2011. Yeah.
How old was you then?
How old was I then?
Almost like 11 years ago.
11 years ago, yeah. So I was, what, 28, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
28, 29, around then, I think.
Yeah.
And then, so it always been a bit of I've been especially on tour, it's fun, right? So you're doing after parties, there's a lot of alcohol around, and I enjoyed having fun. So at first I was just the life of the party. It was like, wow, you could really drink, and because of my weight I could really drink as well. So it was fun, and it was like a thing, like rock and roll, like we actually knew how to get down. But then it was just masking a lot, and I didn't know how to deal with that side, with actual real life. If I weren't doing music, I'd be drinking, and I was drinking while I was doing music. So it was just like real life I didn't know how to deal with. I just knew how to deal with weird life, like touring and doing all of this stuff that most people would think, oh, it's amazing, and it is, but it's so far removed from reality that it's very easy to fall in, to believe the hype and actually start living the rock and roll lifestyle like it's a good thing, like it's not actually just addiction, like it's not actually just coping mechanisms, because working like that is actually quite difficult. And the real life just fell apart for me. My dad passed away, my marriage fell apart, I lost 2 of my grandparents all within the space of like 18 months, and then that was it. I was just like drinking every day, like at least a litre of alcohol, of body, just to get through the day. But I was able to function and still do my job, so I was able to get away with it for a long time, until I couldn't anymore. I couldn't, for my own sake, I was like, what are you doing? You can get away with it, and I could work, but I was still, it just got to a point where either I needed to sort this out or allow it and just, let's go, get off this planet and go to the next one, or whatever's next. And it was either suicide or sort my life out.
You remind me of the step 1 in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction. And that our lives had become unmanageable.
100%.
Though you may look pristine, and everywhere is pick and span, and your chauffeur comes to pick you up, and you're there on time, and man, you're in pieces. You're 100%. Crying. You know what I mean? Definitely. You don't want to wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? Every day becomes a, you want to draw the curtains and all them to keep the sun from coming. This is how, because what's within us suddenly manifests on the outside. And like you said, you ran away from your feelings for a long time.
For a long time, definitely. And you're right, it got to that point, and the thing that stopped me from the thing that kept me going was the fact that I thought of my daughter, and it was like, either I just, if I commit suicide, I'm just pushing all of this on her lap and saying, cheers, you deal with it, because I couldn't. And that was too much for me to think of. Even now, like you can see, it makes me feel very emotional. But that's the level of emotion that I had to face to pull me out of that dark, or even give me a thought process to start thinking I could come out of this, or I need to come out of this. And that was, so I call it my North Star. Well, we call that a moment of clarity as well. And it's also, we know that has been a moment when the pain gets too much. You know what I mean? We reach the point where we can't, we're not
anesthetized by that alcohol anymore. That alcohol doesn't anesthetize the pain anymore.
It doesn't. It's not enough.
It's not enough. And when my response was, I've got to drink 4 bottles of vodka a day instead of 2, or 10 bottles of champagne instead of 4 or 5. You know what I mean, and all that, and chase it with cognac all the way, and nothing worked. You know what I mean? And let's coke it up, and nothing worked. Let's crack it up, and man, it just went from bad to worse. It became a battle for me. At the end of the day, it was like a war going on. I didn't want to throw in the towel. You know what I mean? I said, okay. You know, I said, no, I've got a brain. I've got 2 eyes. I'm walking. I'm talking. Alcohol and cocaine and all these substances, they can't rule me. I tell them what to do. They don't tell me what to do. You know, and all that sort of thing. And look at them people going to work in the city, snorting coke every day, and they're doing $1 billion deals. I can do that too, and drinking champagne. I can do that too. They can do. I can do it. You know, come on, let's give us some more coke, and I'm going to tell you what to do this time.
Definitely, and that's the thing, because you run from it. You don't want to. And it feels good. Like in the moment, that feeling of fuck it, we can take on the world. This is fucking rock and roll. I would always justify it in my head as people would love to be living this lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? Like, who am I to complain about the fact that about any part of my life? Because I get to tour the world, I get to do all of this shit, I get to have sessions with this person, I get to meet that person. But then when everyone goes, I'm still a lonely person on my own. Do you know what I mean? I still have to at some point face my reality.
You gotta live with yourself. And you know, the tears, even like now here, when I see Saw Your Eyes Water, it reminds me of the fact that we were afraid of crying. Well, I know I was anyway. And what, cry? And all that. I cried when my father beat me. I mean, who wouldn't? But I mean, cry. And I found that crying was one of my biggest breakthroughs, which happened in rehab. When I spoke about all the little petty little nasty things I did, like when I said I stole my grandma's pension book, oh my God, to go and change it, knowing that she needs that money to get her shopping and little bits and pieces. I know how her things go, and I went and upset that apple cart. I thought to myself, she'll be all right, she can get money from there or there, and I remember when I revealed that in rehab. I've done some really terrible things, that sounds very soft, but that one there, when I had to reveal that, my God, in front of all these people, I stole from my grandmother, the one who loved me, the one who taught me unconditional love. Without her existence, I'd have never known what unconditional love is. And to do that to her, and the pain of someone, I broke down in tears, and and people just very quiet. No one ever said nothing, and because in the rehab, I'm like the gangster who just come from prison, and and blah blah blah. And I've been through a lot of things in my life, and blah blah blah, and so it was for them. It was like they came out and said, so "I'm really, I wish I could cry like that," after the event and all that. Yes, and it's a breakthrough. So we mustn't be afraid to cry, because that keeps us sick when we hold back the tears. Definitely. Even water falls from the heavens. So who are we to hold it back?
100%. And I feel like I said, I used to just hold everything in. And for me, it was the same. It was getting to a point where I could be honest with myself, because then I get to choose who I am. Now I'm fully honest with myself. I know who I am. I've faced the things that I was scared to face. And these are all parts of the things that have got me over the line of no longer being an addict. Do you know what I mean? Have got me to a point where now I can live life and I'm not addicted to these substances. I'm not spending all my money on them. They don't control my daily routine anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because more time than not, all of the things that you're saying is because as soon as we wake up in the morning, the first thing that we're thinking about is whatever we're addicted to.
That's right.
And that has a control over us, and that will push us to the extreme and make us look at our very morals and values that we hold dear, and make you reevaluate all of them, because this thing has such a hold over you.
Absolutely.
And who teaches you how to get over that shit?
That's right.
Who teaches that? I got to a point where I was like, this is it, I need to sort myself out. So I went back home, said to my mum, yo, I need help. She was like looking around for rehabs and stuff. They couldn't really find anything. I went to AA, which was really helpful. I went to AA a few times, and that was like going through the steps. I grew up in church, so when they were going through the steps, I was like, this is church. I know Jesus. All right, cool, let's go. My brain switched on again, going to AA.
The spiritual steps.
Yeah. But then the problem I had is, I think it was maybe the third time I went, there was a person talking and it was like, hi, my name's blah, blah, blah. I'm an alcoholic. I've been coming to AA for like 30 years. And I started to have a panic attack. And it was one of the first times I had a full-on panic attack, like I need to get out of the room panic attack.
30 years?
Yeah, I was like, what? 30 years and you're still calling yourself an alcoholic? Like, wow, that feels too heavy for me. I was like, get me out of here, please. Like, I went outside and I was like, I finally calmed down. I could breathe and I wasn't dizzy. I didn't feel like my heart was pounding at my chest anymore. And I got in a cab and I was on my way home and I was like, all right, God, this is me and you. Like, you need to show me an alternative, because 30 years feels a bit painful.
Yes, brother, and that's because those brothers use the AA rooms as their higher power. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being the creator and source of all creation, their higher power becomes people at a meeting. And you know, this is with most of them, you know, and really and truly, it's like saying, well, if someone at the meeting relapse, there's a chance that they could relapse themselves, especially if it's a sponsor of theirs or something like that, you know. And like you say, we learn to go to our true higher power, you know, the source of all life, of all things, and well, I mean, in AA or NA, they say a loving God, as we understand that God to be, you know, and so forth, which is, you know, leaves it open, you know, so everybody is inclusive in there. I mean, I remember some people who didn't believe in God of any kind whatsoever. Some of them use their electric toothbrush as their higher power to start off with. Some of them use their dog, this and that. Things like girlfriend just said no is a no-no, because any emotional upset, you know, you're gonna relapse. You know, some people chose the sun, the moon, whatever. Some even people chose their relatives who've passed away, you know, feeling their spirits around them, helping them, and so on. And but the guy with the toothbrush, I remember eventually he came to believe in a creator God. You know what I'm saying? So you got to start the journey from somewhere.
Definitely. And the thing is, I think for a lot of people, I don't think AA is a bad thing at all. It was just, for me, there was a knee-jerk reaction that I didn't want to be talking that over myself for 30 years. I didn't want to be like, I understand why I've had to accept that I'm an alcoholic, but 30 years in my future, I don't accept the alcoholism. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I understand.
Between now and then, there must be a way for me to be able to conquer this. As much as as big as it looks, as hard as it feels, like I can't be under that label for 30 years.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's That's the thing for all of us. Like, no matter who we are, we have a chance to progress and change.
Of course,
and decide who we want to be.
Absolutely, it's limitless.
Yeah.
You see that labels and social circles, I feel like they have a lot to do with keeping people in their boxes.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. You've got, like, I just wanted to address that kind of thing you're saying about the guy for 30 years, because there's some people that leave prison and prefer to go back.
Yeah.
Of the kind of setup they've got there.
Yeah.
As crazy as it may sound to people on the outside, there's people that go to church just for the social side of it. More than anything. There's people that go to the pub, play football, so on and so forth. We can go all day. So like, based on your social circle, and I think that's really hard for people to change. And sometimes that meeting might have been his social circle also. I saw people in community service when I was doing it come back when their time was done. Like they didn't want to stay at home. They wanted to continue. They just want to say, if you don't mind, I'll just roll with you guys today. Like, for me, I was like, right, like his time's done. Like, what is he? Why would you? But he liked it. He liked the community spirit, and you know what I'm saying. There's people that like things for different reasons, especially the access to people, access to community. Because loneliness is like loneliness can kill people faster than drugs.
Definitely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
How would you guys say it would be good for people? What's one of the steps? Do you feel like that's one of the biggest steps to make when you're trying to come out of addiction, is to separate yourself from certain circles?
Well, that was a big step for me. I mean, I remember that. But, you know, before I forget, I'll come back to that. When we were talking there about recovering and sort of still saying I'm an addict or I'm an alcoholic 30 years on and so on, you know, and I straight away, I understand this part here. I mean, I agree with you in that sense that, you don't want to be, in that mental state there. But I understand in step 5, or the step 5, step 6, where we came to believe that God could remove all our defects of character, and there's 5 or 6, and in AA and NA, no one believes that can be done. And I said, and I'd say, yes, it can be done.
It can be done, yes.
You know, the God of my understanding, He has removed the obsession to drink alcohol and take drugs in an abusive way and all the rest of it. In a compulsive way, in a hopeless way, in a degrading way, in an immoral way, in an irresponsible way, in a negative way, you know what I mean, in a self-destructive way. Lord have mercy, man, and of course, I said, that God can free me from anything, because that's the God who created me and everyone I see before me, and all the universe at that, and the things that we can't even imagine, and that's my God, the source of all life, and He can do that for me, and she can do that for me, and it can do that for me, because it's not just a he, because we got male and female, that's so, blah blah blah. Yes, brother, and I am saying now, I am a recovered addict, alcoholic, criminal, and man of violence. I'm recovered from all these things.
Yeah, man. Definitely. And these are the labels that we should hold on to. These are the things, like, for me, it's the same. Like, I got to a point where I was like, I've earned to be able to say I'm no longer an alcoholic. I do have to be mindful of how I live my life, and I'm aware of where I'm weak and where I'm stronger. Some things take a bit more work than others, but I'm no longer waking up thinking in the morning, I need to drink straight away, or having that addiction tendencies. And it got to a point, it's like, okay, this is actually what I was battling for. This is what I'm fighting for. Is peace of mind, is the freedom of your mind, is to be able to think and feel how you choose to in that day, rather than being dependent on something else. And for me, the tools that I learned to be able to manage my addiction and get to a point where I wasn't under that way of thinking was using meditation and sound therapy. That mixed with my faith and my walk with God is really the tools that I find most valuable and most beneficial on a daily use. That really helped me face the stuff I needed to face in the first place, and actually think about, because most people, when you think about meditation, it's like, to not think of anything. For me, it was a journey. We call it meditation, but it was a journey of learning how to think and how to engage with my own thoughts and what effect that actually has on my day-to-day life and my health and my outlook on everything. That was, for me, it was one of the tools that really helped me regain control over my life, because I realized that I could think about stuff in a controlled manner, detached from emotion, and really work some stuff out that I was scared to look at, scared to think about, that's why I drank in the first place, that's why I snorted coke in the first place, that's why I went down them roads in the first place, was to numb myself from all of this stuff. But being able to sit down, calm my mind, and actually go through and think about stuff, revisit parts of my life vividly in memories and in certain meditative states, was very therapeutic. It allowed me to regain control over my thoughts and realize that there's a way to live where it says in the Bible to keep every thought captive. I never really got it till I started really meditating, that it was saying just be mindful of what you think about, because that affects how you live your life, whether you realize it or not. And being able to sit down and just have them moments with God on my own, have them moments with myself on my own, have them moments with memories of people on my own, and think about what happened, rather than just feeling, we all go through trauma growing up at some point or another, or most of us do. Rather than always feeling that trauma had power over me, because I was always thinking about it of the perspective of whatever age I was when I went through that. Now all of a sudden I had a space in my brain where I could go and revisit these things and look at it from an objective point of view, and give myself a break, forgive myself, forgive others, forgive the situations that occurred that had power over me. Regaining power just by sitting down and doing nothing, just by being still and actually trying for a second just to do nothing, not think of nothing. All of these things came from thinking, not from not thinking. So when I was meditating, when I was sitting down, when I was being still, it helped me to, and gave me time to think. I was so scared of thinking.
And go through your feelings as well. Just be still. I mean, in rehab they tell you, sit on your feelings, sit down, getting up and getting all irate. Sit with it, I mean, I understand the meaning of these things now. But you've answered Jay's question there just now about boundaries. Were you afraid of boundaries? You obviously wasn't afraid of suddenly now you're just meditating and instead of probably doing something else, so because you need certain boundaries when you're meditating. I meditated for years, and I agree with you. It's a big breakthrough.
Go into yourself
so much. It's an inner journey. You block out the outside external, because it's all from within. This breath comes from within. There's the power within here. That's everything is happening, animated and everything, and connecting with that. It's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. And it's like, because I suffered real bad with depression for a long time, and I realized that the way I described my depression is I locked myself in my own basement. In my head I was locked in the basement, and I shut it, like, for years, good 3 years of depression, but I was still able to work. Barely got through. I have good friends that kept me going, kept me employed, but barely got through being able to work, just about. Because some days I just couldn't leave the house, because some days it was just like that, and I was stuck in. But all of the energy that goes into creating that basement, that I was in charge of that energy. I was the one who was in control of that energy. Life might have hit me about enough to force me to create that basement to live in that was called depression. But that energy was still, I was in control of that energy.
Absolutely.
I just didn't realize it at the time at all. And it was just like, it was learning how to focus and control that.
Absolutely.
And then visually, I visually over time imagined myself leaving the basement multiple times. And that allowed me to leave depression too. And that was just visualization techniques. That was just sitting down, meditating, coming up thinking, I wonder if this will work. Well, I've got time, so let me just try it and see if it works, because there was nothing else to help me at the time. I was on waiting lists with different charities, all of that kind of stuff, but it was like, this, if I'm gonna fight, this is how I can fight, by sitting down and just thinking.
Yes, brother. Well, like yourself, brother, in my early days coming up, well, you know, for 9 years solid, I meditated, brother, every day and every night, brother. You know, I go to the woods and all this. And it was my adventure. It was wonderful. Didn't really worry about money and nothing like that. You know, my recovery was the highest. To that day without drugs and alcohol, you know what I mean, was far more precious to me than tons of money. You know what I'm saying? And that spiritual journey continued. And I remember, brother, you know, after 9 years, I could really hear the voice from within talking to me so distinctly. You know, and it's beautiful. You know, I connected with the trees. I could hear them whispering, "Oh, he's coming," you know, because they speak on a different frequency.
A different frequency, 100%.
So we look at that.
You
know, this is beautiful.
Definitely.
You know, yes, but I can see your face lit up.
100%. It's the same, because these things that I wish we were taught when we were growing up, because it's not weird hippie stuff. It's how we're created. This is like finding the manual all of a sudden to how my brain works and how to get the best out of myself. Like,
absolutely.
And it's not as going in. When I first started meditating, when I first started changing my life, I think for people around me it was a bit weird, because it was like all of a sudden I started talking different and talking about stuff that sounded like I all of a sudden converted to Buddhism, where it's like this stuff is not religious based. This is your internal journey. This is just how it is. You know what I mean? So however you get there, get there. So it's I like to let people know that this is more factual, scientific, not scientific based, but shown that by science that this is repeatable things. When you meditate, when you get control of being in certain states of being, different signals go around your body. Different chemicals are released around your body. And the same way that when you can get in control of that, you can find peace of mind, find peace in within yourself. It's the same way that if you're not in control of that, someone else is. And more time than not, it's whoever's paying for your attention at the time, whether it be on your phone or on your TV or wherever it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like understanding that the triggers for who we are actually on the inside of us. But we just grow up from a young age being told that it's all external.
It's all out. Exactly.
And
that is where we have got ourselves confused.
100%.
You're going in the wrong direction. You know? Absolutely. People think, how can you go within and you got all these things out there? But actually, for as you said, from I can imagine myself with a Rolls Royce, a 25 bedroom mansion, whatever, 50 million yacht. All these things become, you know, can be, you know, they manifest themselves. You know, they come into reality. You know, from so we can achieve anything we imagine. So it's the same thing as it says with recovery. And I do believe that a lot of people who've gone to the bitter end, which is most people in addiction, they go to the bitter end because they can't imagine themselves living without it.
Exactly.
They can't imagine them. They got no higher power, or if they did believe in God, they've lost all hope of God. You know, they no longer, you know, have no confidence in God or higher power, whatever people want to call our God to be. And But like our brother Jay was saying concerning other boundaries, I mean, I was afraid of leaving the criminal fraternity. I was afraid of leaving the bag of money, or the bags of money. You know, I was afraid of leaving of leaving that world that I'd lived in for so long. You know what I'm saying? And the places I used to go and all that. And well, I mustn't go to these places because it could trigger off my coke habit again and alcoholism again and all that, getting involved there, and dishonesty as well, you know what I mean, start doing, you know, a bit of, you know what I mean, thieving or frauding or robbing, whatever it is, and, you know, and all that, or dealing this or that, whether it's stolen goods or drugs or whatever, and having been through what I've been through with crack cocaine and alcohol. How could I want to go back and sell it to other people? You know, and say, well, it's their choice. I mean, you know, am I thinking a bit strange here, or you know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like the you have to. For me, like, there's a lot of things that can keep you there. Keep you within that space and within that life of addiction, because it was a necessity for a long time for me. The alcohol was the reason that I could function. It was the reason I could go and do what I needed to do with work and stuff, because that was keeping me numb from everything. So without it, am I still going to be able to do this? Am I still going to be able to be creative? Am I still going to be able to
make love?
What is it? What is happening here? What am I going to be able to do still post letting go of this? Because it became such a part of who I was.
Yes, that's right.
That it was scary to think of. So whatever boundary, you have to slightly be ready to risk it all. That's what you were saying. You can't imagine your life without it, because you feel like, is anything going to be the same if I lose this, what is now I call my identity around when I'm drunk? People even enjoy being around me more when I'm drunk more time. You know, that it's like, am I going to be able to make friends, or am I going to hold on to my friends, or all of that shit? You start to think about.
I've also seen people use it as a tool on others. That's what I've realised is about having those different social circles, because there's some people that use it as a tool on people. You know what I mean? Depending on how much they need them, or they want them to do things, they make sure that they're hooked on things. And,
you know what I'm
saying? That's the part that's not really discussed as well when it comes to addiction. Comes from so many different roots.
Absolutely, brother. And this is one of the things, even in the music business here, a lot of artists have been hooked on this and that. You know what I mean? And they end up singing, selling 40 million albums. And they haven't even got 40 pounds in there. You know what I mean? And all that kind of nonsense.
You know, so, and because a lot of them are hooked, and these labels supply them.
They don't have to go nowhere.
No, it just comes. 100%.
In the music industry, is one of the places that people would just openly ask you to get them this and that. You know what I mean?
And it's expected. It's just there. It's just very accessible. It's very accessible.
You know, but that doesn't make the music business all bad. There's a lot of goodness in the music.
Definitely, 100%.
There's a lot of love in there. You know,
to be honest,
creativity.
Beautiful people.
It's the obvious place that is accessible, but most industries, no matter where you are, drugs and alcohol are accessible and have been applied from within history to keep workers going. Back in the day, when they were making beers, it was more beneficial to drink beer than water, because the water could fuck you up, but beer was purified because of the fermenting process. So they gave it to the workers to keep them going, because it was like, you get a bit jolly, you keep going. That on an extreme has slightly happened across all industries. Even like teachers and stuff like that, some of the biggest alcoholics you'll see, you know, like, because it's a struggle to where everyone's got a reason, whatever it is, you might end up getting addicted to stuff.
I think when the word business comes involved, that's when it turns a bit to me, that it gets ugly.
There
might be when it's business involved, there's maybe a small side of people that do business on a very positive level, on an honest level. But when you get the word business anyway, already there's some sort of something happening.
Well, people say, don't take it personal, it's just business. It's an excuse to be a dick.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, but you're right. There's a lot of opportunity for people to be manipulated when they're an addict, because you get to the point where you would do anything for it, and as long as you're supplying whatever I need, I'll be there for whatever you need.
You know what I mean?
And I remember being surprised and even shocked when I heard that Marvin Gaye, this brother was kind of pushing up his chest saying, oh, you got Marvin Gaye there and he's going to do some shows with him. I say, you're going to do some shows with Marvin? Okay. How's that come about? He says, well, Marvin Gaye ain't got no money, ain't got no this, no that, and he had coke, so he could give Marvin Gaye a quarter ounce a day or whatever, you know what I mean? And so then you've got Marvin to put on some shows where obviously he's going to make loads of money. What's Marvin Gaye going to get out of it? Quarter ounce? I don't think that worked out. I never heard any more about it, but it just goes to show you how the drug can overtake, your love of yourself. And when you love yourself, you're not going to allow yourself to be used like that. But you are aware of what's happening, and yet you're still allowing that. This is the disease of addiction, you know what I mean? You're going against all your morals and principles, against your own feelings. You know what I mean? And you're still doing it.
There's legal addictions that I also think are horrible. Do you know what I mean? That they never highlight. As a addiction that we need to discuss, or this like an addiction that is but when you think about it, there's people that's taken coke, crack, heroin, all these different things that's still alive, and there's some people that have taken legal drugs that are not, like painkillers, whether it's
absolutely. Well,
you know what I'm saying? What's those things where people take when they're depressed? Those kind of things.
Antidepressants. Well, all these pharmaceutical drugs have side effects on them. People start off with one package
sugar,
of something.
You know what I'm saying? Like meat.
And in foodstuffs as well. Chemicals in there
and addictions everywhere. To it as well.
And addictions to it.
When you try and get stop eating meat, that's when you realize, hold on. Maybe I'm just like,
Well, you can't give your cat kitty cat when it's used to eating what's that fancy one called
I know you're talking about.
I'm saying Sheba. He's hooked on Sheba. No more kitty cat.
You know what I'm saying?
And people, people are the same.
You make a good point. Like the addiction, it can be anything. It starts and ends within your within the brain. Within like even once the physical chemical attachment wears off, the psychological attachment is always the hardest part to get over. It's always within the mind. So when we're talking about tools of how do we get through this, how do we get beyond this, how do we get to a point where we can look in the rear view and see that addiction was part of our history and not part of our today, is how we, for me, and I think is something that we're slowly getting to as society, is being on top of our mental health and being on top of self-management of our mental health, because there is tools that we can apply that for me, one of the first things that happened when I stopped drinking was I couldn't sleep. The insomnia was quite intense. My body had just forgotten how to sleep. It just used to be passing out. So, and I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that to be a withdrawal symptom. And then maybe after night 3 or 4 of not being able to sleep in a row, I just searched in YouTube. I was like, sleep video, and then this stuff came up, and all of these videos, different frequencies on them, and I was like, wow, this is quite cool, because I'm into sound. This is I don't know what this is yet, but this looks promising. And then I found one video and it said that it would help me get to sleep. So I pressed play and I had the best night's sleep. I really had the first best night's sleep since. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, what is this? Why did that piece of music, that sound, help me sleep? And if it can help me sleep, what else can it do? Because I know sound, and I just didn't know it could do that. So all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, where else can this go? If it can help me sleep, can it help me feel better? Can it help me with my addiction? Is there?
Absolutely.
And then the more I went down the road, the more I realized that there's a whole world of sound therapy and sound healing, music therapy, whatever you want to call it, that is a real actual tool that a lot of people can use and plug into. The problem is it's not actually. I work within sounds. I work within music, and I didn't even know up until the point where I actually was desperate enough to look at and see what could help me. And then there is like sound baths and stuff you can go to, but it's like super expensive, and kind of only nowadays is it becoming more widely known. But the use of sound to help with addiction, to help with PTSD, to help with I've suffered with depression, anxiety, I had a little burst of psychosis as well. The sound therapy that I use to keep me every day and actually helps me thrive now. This is tangible, easy things that people can just implement into their life. I found it. I was shocked of how simple it was. So I can just sit and listen to something for 15 minutes a day, and it's going to help me remain calm. It's going to help me with my anxiety.
Beautiful.
It's like, yes, indeed, that is actually what there is, and what actually is there to help. So like, that's why I like talking with people like yourself. And
send a few of those links through, and we'll put it in the description.
Okay, yeah.
I was just going to ask, people want to know what these links are, because we all need to.
We'll have them in the description on the
maintain my recovery. I say I am a recovered addict, alcoholic, criminal, man of violence and dishonesty. But I know that any given moment, a relapse is possible. Because I can choose. I am not going to be complacent.
Yes,
I'm saying I'm recovered now. What you say? No. Really and 100%. Truly. And from personally, I had to get away from all my drug friends and drug dealing friends and all that. Was it the same for you? And
you know what's hard is I still work in the music industry. So it's as around me as ever.
So how did you manage to work your way through? In the early stages, you think at least in the early stages, you cannot be recovering and working around
100%
and alcohol every day. You know what I mean?
Like I definitely. When I decided that was it, because at my worst I was pretty much living in the studio, so I would work all day, turn up all night, work all day, turn up all night. I'd have a couple hours sleep here and there, but I was like, I'd go home every few days to shower and then come back and see how long I could go at the studio before I had to go back home and freshen up. I was just addicted to being in the room as well, and being in the studio. It was a safe space for me to either make music or just be at my face. So when I decided that was it, I'd had enough, I need to sort my life out, I moved back home and took a whole big break away from being in the studio and being in the environment, because I was able to create that space, and it was known as the space to turn up if you wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Because so I definitely had to pull myself away from that for a long time. And
so your home became your rehab.
And then 100%.
It's great how we can all recover in different ways. We don't actually have to go to rehab. There's lots of people that haven't been. That's beautiful too.
And like, I was living at home with my mum. She gave me loads of support. I had people around me that were ready, and thankful that I was finally ready to do this. So I had that, like, I didn't have the negative influence of people saying, nah, you need to get back to what you were doing, keep making music. I didn't have no one like that in my life that was saying, everyone was like, yeah, about fucking time, mate, because you're a mess and you need to sort yourself out. So I did have the support around me. I was blessed enough to be able to, we looked at rehabs, I couldn't afford any of the rehabs, and the charity stuff, the waiting list was all way too long. I needed help right then and there. So yeah, home became rehab, and then I just spent a long time away from the studio, away from music, a good few months just to get my head sorted and kind of get into a routine, find a routine to get into. It wasn't till, and then even when I went back and was working at the studio, I wasn't around. I was very strict about not being around alcohol. It was 100% teetotal. But then part of understanding that I needed to exist in this world still means that I couldn't stop at just it not being around me. I needed to work. I needed to go further in my journey so I could actually be around it.
Right, of course.
And be able to say no.
Yeah.
Be able to.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like be able to exude my own will.
That's
in
right,
them moments, and say no. This is the power of will, which we call willpower. In this moment, I will exert my boundaries, and it doesn't matter who I will say no. You know,
that's right. From a feeling of powerlessness to a feeling of power. I am the power. I'm powerless. I gotta do it. I remember I used to cower away from pubs and all that. One time I wouldn't even go in there to have a piss, you know, because I didn't trust myself. I'm going to have a pint, I'm going to drink something, you know what I mean? I have serious thing. I'm even in the supermarkets for a long time, for how many years, I avoided the alcohol section. You know what I mean? Because those bottles say, come, drink, you know, that lovely shaped bottle there.
100%,
you know,
and then all of a sudden you start salivating when you're looking at it, like when your body's getting ready to receive the fluids in your mouth.
There's all this euphoric recall. You know what I mean? It's bad. You know what I mean?
100%.
Serious thing, brother. And all we go through that is by the grace of our higher power.
Definitely.
From within. You know, and we all have that power within us.
100%.
Let us not deny. The higher power is within us, brothers and sisters. We're not talking about pie in the sky or wherever. Within all of us.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Definitely.
In mind and heart.
Man, definitely. And that's it. And so for like 2 years I just didn't. Maybe a bit longer, I was totally teetotal. And then I got to a point where I was able to be like, okay, I'm gonna reintroduce certain aspects of being able to have a drink when I'm here or have a drink when I'm there. And I started to, and there's been times where I've lost the balance and I'll be like, yo, bring it back, and then have to have a real conversation with myself. But it's an ongoing thing. It still takes us the same amount of energy, but it's just that energy plus always being honest with myself about where I am.
Absolutely.
And being like, actually, no, I'm starting to I'm starting to play with the fire again. I need to ease that back, and exactly. So like at the moment I'm going through a period of abstinence again with alcohol, where it's like, okay, for the next certain amount of months I make sure that I'm exerting my will again. Just to, like you said, you never know. You have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Absolutely.
So,
when you see, look at it. I mean, look at these guys who have a drink in a disciplined manner. You know, they've never really known being in a drunken state. They just have that discipline. They said, no, they imagine themselves, no, I'm never going to be seen like Uncle Tom who used to roll over and all this and that and blah, blah, blah. You know, and they just maintain it, a couple of drinks and that's it. You know, so they never, you know, and it's just that same, it's the same thing. It's it's simple for them.
And
we found it so difficult.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, we have a million excuses to carry on, and no excuses not to.
100%. 100%.
How warped the thinking was that, bro?
You know what? It's you could say it's warped thinking, but there's a cold, honest truth about how we live life as well, and it's about choices. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people choose to live the fast life, and that's the life they chose. Like, and then sometimes people want to live longer, and that's the decision that people got to make. Do you want to live longer and enjoy your life in this aspect or this aspect, or you just want to live fast? Because I believe like there's so many different sides of character of everyone. That it's that you have, even when you're sitting down getting counselling, they give you raw decision making. Do you okay? You know, but you know, if you continue this, you could die next year. But if you know what I'm saying. But if you X, Y, and Z, but it's just the life decisions. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like there's people that don't take the alcohol or the drugs that we're talking about, but have terrible ways. And terrible ways of lifestyle, and so they're addicted to something else. That's why I feel like the discussion of addiction is so much more wider than the people usually have the discussion. Because do you feel like you need to replace bad addictions with good addictions? Because do you feel like you need to be addicted to something else? It may be a focus, it may be a talent, it may be a creativity, or I don't know, it sounds crazy to say be addicted to that, but it's like, do we talk about being addicted to good things?
Well, I would say, no, we're not into addiction, because that means to say something has power over us. That means to say we haven't relinquished, that idea of something having power over us. We have to take back control, because I am, and I am responsible. Like you're talking about decisions, it's my decision I'm making. If I want to dive into the sea full of crocodiles, it's my decision. You know what I mean? If you want to call me mad, I say, blah, 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 and so on. So no, we're not into getting addicted onto something else, but from my understanding, it's being one within myself, with my feelings, with my spirit, with my mind, you know what I mean? Although I have to practice this balance myself, you know what I mean? But it gets easier as time goes by. You know what I'm saying? Be conscious of the, that moment there. We go back in the past and we can go forward into the future. However, we can maintain a balance. We're in control now. We don't let things from the past. The pain of that is like it just happened just now, and I'm going to kill him or her or whatever it might be, and all that sort of thing. I can't forgive that, and all that sort of thing. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Because we're running out of money, and we're going to buy no food and pay the rent, and or blah blah blah. I'm going to lose my job, and my wife's going to leave me, and and the children going to go, and all this and that, and blah blah blah. No, we are in control now. We don't let these things take us over either. We don't let the present moment take us over either. We just serious thing. And
they say some people are work addicts. And things like that. He's a work addict. He loves it. And even that's not good.
No, that's detrimental to you, right? Mentally,
definitely. And that's why we're saying like any form of addiction is wrong. Any form of addiction is wrong. It's exactly what you said. It's something that has power over you. Something that you can't function without. That all of you would drop everything to go and chase and to find. Like that's why it takes you to rock bottom. It takes getting to rock bottom to want to get out, because it's like shit. This really brought me to the brink of destruction. And I still want another drink at the brink of destruction. I want a line and a drink, and I'll be able to get over it. It's like no. Whether it's a line and a drink, or whether it's like your shoes, whether it's shopping, whether it's work, whether it's whatever it is, gaming, whether I don't know, like with gym. Some people are overly addicted to the gym,
exactly, and that's not good.
With food, whatever it is,
some of them is sex.
Exactly. People will get addicted to all kinds of stuff, and it's understanding that we're not taught it, But the great thing to try and get to in the point of life is to understand that everything you need is within you.
Definitely.
The controls for who you are and how you react are actually within you.
But you know, when people say that, you got to remember, depending on where you are in your life, how do you understand that?
Well, you're gonna get it when you need to get it.
Absolutely, but you see, from you maintain self-honesty, you'll get there. Be true to yourself. Even if I lie to Wesley, I can go and say, you know, you lied to Wesley. You know, yeah, I did. Shouldn't have done it. No, although I, you know what I mean. But if I said to myself, "You lied to Wesley," no, I didn't. You lied to yourself now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he deserves it. You know what I mean? And blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And all that kind of thing. You're in serious trouble. You know, there's no recovery with that kind of thing.
100%.
100% right. It takes a level of honesty which is like internal. That's how you get that real. And because even some days I'll get to a point where it's like, be real with yourself. You want a drink today, innit? It's like, I do actually. And then when it's like, okay, I'm at home alone and I'm starting to think of like, okay, not in a nice way like, oh, we're all here tonight, we're gonna have a party, I'm cool. Like now I'm on my own and I'm thinking the thoughts of, oh, what time is it? Is the off license still open? How much have I got left in my account? Should I get myself? When I start to get into that conversation with myself, I have to be honest and say, listen, this is the wrong. You're getting back to that way of thinking. You have, and now the way, if I start slipping in that way of thinking, I'll be honest with myself and be like, okay, now we go into headlock mode again. Now we go into. For me, I'll go into a space of abstinence again from alcohol, and I'll be like, okay, now I need to I need to practice the right way of thinking again, because the old way of thinking started to slip in. So let me go now back to practicing the balance. And when I get to that balance, all right, cool.
So how do we separate routine from addiction?
Well, you know, the thing is, addiction was a routine. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so what you're talking about, a routine that without alcohol or drugs in it.
Because you're encouraged to you're encouraged to have a routine for your life.
Yes, well, you see, one of the first things as we in recovery learned was, you know, first thing you do, you brush your teeth and you wash your face and you go make sure you have something to eat or a hot drink or something, and wear clean clothes and keep your place tidy and clean and that sort of thing. And you know, that's how the discipline starts from that, you know, from these steps, and you grow and grow and grow along until you know. And also, of course, you don't go and see anyone. Now, I'm not going to go to the crack house anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or hang around with them boys, they're drinking on the corner.
But the reason I say, how do we separate routine from addiction? As well, because like you said, your addiction is part of it. It's within the routine. But you're encouraged to have a routine for your life to have some sort of structure. So, do you understand?
No, definitely understand what you're saying. But again, I feel like it's a point of control, and what is like I don't have much of a routine, but I do have certain things I will do every day. So I have a bedtime routine to get to sleep. I have certain little bits I put in place. But then that's me choosing. Addiction will have you running every morning to the shop as soon as it opens, and that will be your routine. But it's the addiction that's having you make that routine. You're not in control of the routine. Move the substance somewhere else, your routine will change. And
that's why I was asking, how do we differentiate it? Because
it's like routine you're implying is like a repetitive behavior. You know what I mean? Whereas really and truly in recovery, everyone is different. Some will go into a routine, get up, probably go and do 15 minutes in the gym, then have lunch, then go do a bit of reading and or whatever, go to work or whatever. And another one, some would like to go go and see different sites every day, go different places and all that sort of thing. That can be a routine that can go on for years, and even after you've got a job, and this and that, you know.
Yeah.
But we all find a different way. So your route you're talking about is like roots. You know, it's a route. You know, there's different routes of getting to the same place.
You know, we'll say even work can be an addiction. So we'll say work can be an addiction. Let's say work's an addiction, drugs an addiction, and then you've got a routine, a heavy routine of work, and you're an addict of work as well. Then you're an addict of drugs at the same time, because this can happen. You can be a multiple addict. And a lot of people don't. Again, another thing that's not discussed. Like just addictive qualities. Make you. I'm saying you're an addictive person.
Well, like you call this cross addiction. You know, I've given up alcohol, but now, you know, I'm, you know, snorting a lot of coke and all this and that, or vice versa. You know what I mean? I mean, I remember what I did. I was really proud of myself. I've stopped smoking crack and snorting cocaine, but I was drinking like a fish from morning till night. You know what I mean? It was no joke. And then it's this vicious cycle. You end back taking the coke. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know, which is it's easy to do when you're in a drunken stupor.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure you've gone through blackouts. You don't know where you ended up at. You know, can you tell us one of those, for example?
There's been bare different times where you wake up, you keep your eyes closed, and you go through the checklist in your head. I don't remember where I got, how I got here, have I got clothes on? Did I piss myself? You know, like you go through a checklist, and then you open up your eyes and you think, where am I? To be honest, I have a very good internal homing pigeon that takes over and gets me home when I'm drunk. But there's been like the time there was a funny story when it was before it got bad. When it was just fun. We did the Brits, and I woke up. After we did the Brits, there was an after party, and the next day we had a rehearsal booked. So we were all drinking on the boat, and the after party was great. I remember just thinking, this is super sick. I was out of my head. We did a free bar, and then I woke up on the boat, and everyone had gone. It was on the Thames. It wasn't like a yacht. It was like one of them big catered boats. You know what I mean? And it was people sweeping up and stuff. And I was looking around, and I was thinking, where is everyone? Where am I? It's like 6 o'clock in the morning now to get home and get to rehearsal. But that blackout thing for me is I only want to share one of the fun stories, because the dark stories are just dark, you know. That's one of the things that I'm glad that I don't live with anymore. I know when I go to sleep, and I know where I'm waking up. Do you know what I mean? That because there was that fear of, what did I do last night? Was it still funny and jokey, or was it something serious? Was it something way out of character? Was it something that I'm going to regret forever because I have no recollection and I had no control? So you know what I mean? Like, catch me on a good day, we will have joked all night and you won't even realize how drunk I was. Catch me on a bad day, I'll be extremely angry, or I'll be crying my eyes out, or I'll be professing my love. You know what I mean? Like, depending on
emotion,
the emotional roller coaster. Depending on where it is, but I'd make sure I don't have that as part of my life no more. The blackout thing was scary. That was scary.
Yes, that's
because being told by other people what you did is not.
It's not nice.
It's not nice. It's not nice. And for a while it's fun. In my life for a while it was funny and. Like, oi, like you're with the lads and it's all a laugh, and it's like, oh, you never guess what you did last night. But then it gets to a point where this ain't funny no more. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, I'm really waking up thinking, hey, I could have done anything yesterday. I could have woken up dead today. Like, thank God I'm alive, because I don't know what on earth. And you do that I've done that in dangerous environments all around the world. You know, there's a whole, one of the bad blackouts I had is I was traveling from Australia back to London on tour, and got so drunk on the first flight that I don't remember of getting to the UK from Dubai, and it was in Dubai we landed. That's not the kind of country that you want to turn up blind drunk in at all, because it's actually dangerous. You know what I'll be walking around, and where I was in my headspace at the time, who knows, I could have been walking around the airport asking for cocaine. Do you know what I mean? Like so getting to London, waking up in being woken up on the plane, and then thinking I was in Dubai ready for changeover. They were like, no, you're in London. Was scared. That scared me really badly, because I was like, we were talking from country to country blackout. I didn't know where my passport was. I was frantically looking for my passport. I had lost stuff. Thankfully my passport was in the thing just in front, but I was like, this is scary blackout. This is stupid. This is when
So you got on the plane, and where did you, like, when you were back in London, or?
Well, I realised when I came to, was woke up on the plane, we was in London, in Heathrow, but I thought we was landing in Dubai, because I have no memory of stopping from Australia. I have no memory of the stop in Dubai. I have no memory of the changeover at all. And that was scary to think of. Like, thank God it weren't that bad. But just the thought of
missing that whole
moment, being through customs, through like bits so you could get arrested and all of that kind of stupidness. Yeah, and they could have not. I could have ended up coming to in Dubai on my own. There's a world where they don't let you on the flight, and then you're just stuck. And then what happens? Like, there's been more dangerous situations than that, but for me that was one that really was like, yo, that's you're fucking up on the international level.
So global.
This is some international blackout shit. Like, this is actually dangerous.
This is extreme.
This is stupid now. Like, this
extraordinary. Serious thing, brother. I mean, I remember a guy sharing that he was drinking in London, and next thing he knew, he was in Japan, in Tokyo. You know what I mean? You don't remember how he, got passport together and suitcase together, whatever, and went to the airport and all the way through. Oh, he doesn't remember a thing. All he remembers, he was drinking in his flat or his house, whatever, and next thing you knew, he was in Tokyo, Japan.
Sometimes I wonder if alcohol helps us to teleport. There was something I know I didn't go home. I definitely didn't go home. So however I got in bed, I must have clicked my heels up. There's no place like home.
Now you mustn't go out there and try this, bro. This is not glorified alcohol. Because it's a very self-destructive thing, which 100%. Is actually a depressant. And I used it for many years, thinking that the alcohol will numb my mental and emotional pain, and it just compounded it. It just made it worse. The consumption increased. If it was working, the consumption would decrease. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Then you can say, "Buy alcohol, thanks, you did a great job."
You got me through, but I'm alright now. But no, it doesn't. It gets
it just gets from bad to worse.
100%. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of the time we get to hide our addictions because it's socially acceptable as well. You know what I mean? Because it is like, go. Like, you've worked hard this week. You deserve to go.
It's part of culture. Like, like, they gave the beer to the workers. Like, a lot of the stories of how this stuff got to us is lost in translation as well, and what people use them for. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
They're just on the shelf now in front of you.
100%.
The cigarettes and the alcohol is there when you're going to pay for anything. So it shows you the priority of them. Is that, you know what I'm saying? So
definitely.
It's part of the culture and the society. That's another side that doesn't get discussed. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, it's encouraged. I mean, systematically encouraged. To say it's blatantly apparent. That what's going on. If you don't want people to take something, you don't put it on show. It's as simple as that.
But
definitely. And it's the way life is set up. Go work hard, and then you it's not enough of life just to be working and go home and work and go home. So then you have the socially acceptable vices. You can go out for the weekend and binge, drink if you want, or do this or do that if you want. But it's all just bits of addiction that we allow ourselves to have to just get through life. because there's something within our lives that aren't satisfying us, or there's something within our lives that are fundamentally we're burying it, but we don't agree with this. We don't agree with this this rat race that you've got me on. A lot of us bury that down and end up, like you say, it comes out in different ways. You end up on the whatever addiction it is, just something to get by,
just to cope with holding it down.
Yes.
The pressure cooker till steam coming out your ears. Something, I'm sitting here, dear, I recognize it. I was an alcoholic from the moment when I bought a crate of whiskey, teacher's whiskey, when I was 16 years of age, to celebrate after, some criminal activity to get some money. And I've also bought an ounce of ganja. But although, I drank alcoholically then, if we cracked a bottle of teacher's whiskey, it was a crate of that, I wouldn't stop until the bottle was finished. You know what I mean? And I'd make excuses like, being a man, drink a bottle. It's always, the ism in alcoholism always gives you these self-justifications or these, illogical reasons why, which appear to be very logical at the time, and so forth, And I got to understand that being an alcoholic didn't mean to say that I had to be drinking every day, from first thing in the morning till I'm just out of it, which I believe that was the case. But actually, you can go binge drinking every 3 months or whatever, but you're still an alcoholic. It doesn't have to be, every day.
Definitely.
But when you just do it, you do it abusively. So, a lot of folks out there would think, well, I'm just going to have a binge every month, every 3 months and all that. It's still alcoholism. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yes, brother. And this is why a lot of people can't admit to the stuff, because they say they don't do it every day. I'm not like them on the park bench, drinking tenants every day. I'm not an alcoholic. I drink champagne and cognac. Or I drink Baileys and whatever it is. So I'm not. I drink Cointreau or tequila with ice and lemon.
Exactly.
Martini stirred and not shaken. I've got a nice car outside. I've got nice birds around me, and I've got nice address, nice place. I ain't no alcoholic, but this is where a lot of people go to the bitter end, because the denial is relentless. It goes on
really
to the bitter end.
Definitely.
I mean, there's some of them even want to drink in hospital. They're trying to sneak out the hospital, go and get a drink. Just like the addicts asking people to bring a bit of crack so they can go in the toilet and smoke it and stuff like that. It's a deadly disease. It is a disease of addiction. It's no joke, man. You know what I mean? And of course, during the course of my addiction and going through recovery, I've met people addicted to cutting themselves and all that kind of self-harming. Oh my God. Yes, there's a lot of self-harming addicts and alcoholics.
Definitely.
Seriously.
100%. And for me on my journey, I'd called it self-harm with my addiction. I knew what I was doing. There was times where I contemplated suicide quickly, but for the majority of my addicted life, I was doing it slowly. That's what it was a part of. I knew it wasn't just numbing me, it was killing me. Just doing it a bit softly. Like the
slow form of suicide.
100%. And it was
the edge of the cliff, and there's a big drop, and no one survives that drop there.
Definitely. And it's understanding that we said it earlier. It's the honesty with yourself, the honesty with those around you, but most importantly, the honesty with yourself.
Absolutely.
To be able to even admit, because for ages I was like, no, I can just drink. I just like, and for people around me as well was like, oh no, but Wes just has a party. He just knows how to party. They didn't realize that when the party was over, this is just how I live. Like it was never over for me. Like whether I was drinking with you or not, I was still drinking that day. Yeah. You know what I mean? So people didn't realize I was able for a long time to live in that denial place, even for myself, where it's like, nah, I can just hang. You just can't drink me. It became more of a masculine thing, especially like after parties and on tours and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I'll be able to drink with the Irish and the Scottish and whoever thought they could drink was like, oh yeah, but you don't know if you can drink until you can drink with Wes. Like it became a party piece. It became who I was. It became my coping mechanism, and I was in denial about it for ages. It weren't until it really was kicking me in the ass. And
so he was a celebrity alcoholic.
100%, definitely. yeah, definitely. You know, known by like all the crew.
Living the good life, but that's why I say everything's down to perception as well. Because I feel like a lot of people turn to drugs through them having like expectations that have been failed. A lot of like things that they wanted to happen that fell through. Things like that, things that they feel like comparison is also a thief of joy. So people comparing their lives to other people also makes them feel like their life isn't this and their life isn't that, and they had more of maybe even they wouldn't. That's why it's good to share experiences, because when trauma is shared, it chops it down. You know, it makes it easier for both parties, every party that shares their trauma.
100%, and that's why like even. I don't mind, like earlier when we were talking, I don't mind showing my pain and sharing my tears, because I have to let you know that was a real side of it. That's how I experience it again, to remind myself that was a part of it, because you can forget, and it can be like the celebrity alcoholic all over again, and it's like, oh, I miss partying, and I miss being that guy, but no, that came at a price, and that wasn't real. That was a facade you put up to cover the fact that you were slowly killing yourself one drink at a time because you was lonely and you was miserable. Remember and check yourself. Like that's the reality of it. But then the outwardly facing thing was this celebrity drinker that could outdrink people, and like, Corey, come on, let's see if you can handle Wes. Like the truth of the matter is it is pain, and all of that stuff just hides the pain. All of that is fake. All of that whatever we have in our lives that kind of we have in place of our actual peace of mind is just a fake version of what we actually really want. Unfortunately, what we want is behind a layer of pain, because that's where we hid it. Not to get deep, but that's where we hide who we really are, is behind that layer of pain, because whatever trauma you were going through, you're now protecting the most delicate part of yourself all of a sudden. That's how our system is set up to protect us, you know.
Turn into a different person.
Yeah, like your personality, your ego then all of a sudden takes over and says, don't worry, I've got this. I'll handle it from here. You sit back. And it's regaining control over your ego too, because that's also can be an addictive quality to who we are. Not letting, you know, like some people say, oh, sorry, I just couldn't control myself. So your ego took control because it was defending the real delicate parts of you that you don't want to expose. But then getting in touch with them parts is where your freedom lies.
Absolutely. My understanding recovery that ego means edging God out. You know, with intellectualizing and you know, that sort of thing. You know, and with different kind of perceptions, and, you know, so forth and so forth. And I understand that the most difficult people to recover from addiction are very intelligent people. You know what I mean? Because they can intellectualize their way to the grave. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? 100%. Humility, obviously. You know, honesty. Well, honesty comes with humility. And it's such a big part of our recovery. You know, I'm not Mr. Know-It-All. You know, the universe doesn't revolve around me. And how do I know that these people know I'm in pain? Because, you know, I was at the stage where they ought to know I'm in pain. I don't have to go around telling anybody anything. Can't they see I'm in pain? Can't they hear the pain? You know what I mean? You know, and so on and so forth. you know, and that was the disease of addiction as well, telling you, shut up, don't tell anybody, you know what I mean, and all the rest of it, you know, that's the ego, of course. The ego and addiction works excellently together.
Perfectly together, because it's the shame. Addiction hides behind shame, that it's to admit that you don't have control over yourself, that something else has control over you. There's a level of shame of that. What do you mean you can't control yourself? What do you mean? It's like shameful. It's like, no, I'm a man. I'm in control of my own destiny. No. You're right. The ego and addiction, they work together so well. One hides the other. One protects. You know,
I've always had like a double way of looking at ego, because I feel like our ego is our spirit as well. So like there's the way people explain this ego thing. I think controlled ego is the best thing to have, because we throw our ego away. That ego is a big part of us.
Well, ego, there's the false ego and there's the real, you know, I mean, there's ego is the one that came against to replace our true real spirit, our true real being.
But who gave the definition of it?
It's like when you hear about the moment when all of a sudden we've become out of sync with creation and so on and so forth, and that is what ego is. It's the opposite to yes, it's like there's negative energy and positive energy. You know what I mean? An ego is a negative energy, is a destructive,
and it's perspective,
is the destructive thing, but we have the choice whether we want to go and flow with that or stay with the, you know, or with the other energy.
No, definitely, but you know, like ego, everything to do with ego is perspective, because someone might just say your ego, you got a big ego because you dress nice.
No, but there's a difference in internal conversation.
Yeah,
you will know what is your own ego.
No, but that's why I say I don't believe. I believe you got to control your ego.
Well,
control the ego is where you've got a good. You're in a good place, because I feel like there's things in us, right? And if ego is one of them, must be, and if it is in us, then it must be part of our spirit.
No. Well, everything has a spirit, because everything we put life to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything. You know, this is why words has a spirit, because words become manifest. I'm going to meet this beautiful woman, we're going to get married, and suddenly these words have moved this beautiful woman and we've got married.
That's right.
You know, and just like that, just like we can speak our way, you know, into recovery, you know, or we can speak our way into the grave. You know, then where they saw... you know, but so everything has that. There's nothing that, even this has got energy in it. This thing that looks like it doesn't move. It's full of energy. You know, people worship carved objects made out of it.
Exactly.
You know, and so on and so forth. So so like you say, we've got to have self-control, self-discipline, and all the rest of it, and
all
awareness,
the aspects of what people
and
tear
integrity
down.
and dignity and so forth. You know?
Definitely. And I feel like controlling the ego, understanding yourself, it's an internal thing. You can't kid yourself about it, and whatever definition you have put on it is what definition it is for you. So like for me when I think of ego, the term, it's when you're making a decision that only to save face, or to say, because of pride, or because of something that doesn't make sense factually, but because of an internal conversation, you're not going to agree with this. That's ego.
No, I hear that.
That's just, you're doing it because you don't want to, even though you know you're not right, you don't want to be wrong in the eyes of people around you. That's where the protector kind of version of yourself comes in. For me, that's what I understand as ego. That's why, like, for me, I don't give a fuck how I look to anyone, because I'd rather be true and honest and cool within myself. So there is an ego that even comes with that, because that's a persona that I like to. It's a true persona, but it's still like the one that I like to dwell within.
Exactly, and a lot of our confidence comes from that so-called ego, because a lot of people, when they see you confident, they say, "Oh, he's got a big ego," because of your confidence.
But that's why I say it's an internal conversation. No one can tell me about an ego, but then I need to be honest about my own ego.
That's why I say it's a perception. So having control over our own ego won't allow us to say, I don't need my ego. Like I feel like the power of what this ego thing is something that you want to have, but you want to control it.
Well, I personally don't want it at all, you know.
But what does it mean then?
The ego has been meaningless to me, and
I just think the way the word's used, the way the word is used, I believe it's just used in a negative way.
Yes, like I said, there's many perceptions of ego, but ego for me in my life has led me astray, has helped me to be selfish, negative. And it's helped me to justify things where really in retrospect they're not justified, dishonest.
But is that just based on ego? Would you say that's just based on ego?
I have nothing to give the ego credit for.
No, would you say that's just based on, would you say ego is the only word that you use for everything you've done wrong?
Well, ego is, for me, ego is all about, it's the false self. You know, it's the false self. It's the liar. You know what I mean? It's the immoral one. It's the, you know, dishonest one. You know, it's the violent one. It's the, you know what, it's the arrogant one. You know what I mean? And all that. And as well as it's the insecure one as well. And it is the frightened one as well. Because ego is all about fear. You know, at the end of the day. Fear of what I can't get or what I'm going to lose or might lose.
But then that's,
you know, whether it be respect or whether it be this or that or this and that, where there's really nothing there to fear. You know what I mean? I mean, we you know, this ego is the fear in our lives, and we have to become fearless beings again. You know what I mean? Where we don't walk with fear. You know, fear has driven us to drink and drugs. It's led us to lies, has led us to all sorts of behaviors that have been, you know, a death to humanity, a destruction. You know what I mean? To our community.
100% right. 100% right. And this is the thing that, that's why I say it's an internal thing, because arguing over about what the word ego means, for me, is slightly void, because I don't care. That's why it's an internal thing, because I know internally, in the past when my ego has wanted to take over. And why I'll call it an ego is because it's a version of myself that's trying to protect the real version of myself. This is almost like the version of myself that's, when I'm on automatic, isn't in control. When I can be prodded and picked and made to feel a certain way because my ego is trying to protect the rest of me. Where I don't live under that. I don't live under the rule of my ego. You can't pick and prod at me to kind of get a reaction out of me, because that level of protect I don't need in my life, because I'm just one with myself. All I was saying
with it is that you're like, okay, look, you got a guy that goes to the gym and he's super healthy, and his ego, his bigger ego, you know, like he's on the gram, he's doing all of his flexing. People would, you know what I'm saying? He's eating everything healthy. He's in the gym, you know, like he maybe even goes to, he does religious in whatever aspect. So he's living a like he's what people would say is a proper life. But he's still has the ego. Do you know what I'm saying? So
that's why it's an internal thing.
That's what I mean. Like it's not just a thing that, like, I feel like that's why I say your ego can be used for different sides of your life.
Absolutely.
And there's no one way of living the perfect life. Because even some of those people that feel like they're living a perfect life, and those people make people that are in addictions and that feel like it's so far away to even change their lives. Because those other people that were living healthier but with their ego is making it even harder for people to see a different life.
The thing is, the ego, whether you have whether your ego is in charge of you or not, it doesn't depend what lifestyle you're living. You could be doing a life of crime, or you could be a politician. They're the most egotistical people in the world, politicians, because they, you know what I mean, like, you just see
still a life of crime most.
Like, it doesn't matter what, it's a personal who's in control.
Well, you know something, you know, you have the addict and the alcoholic in the gutter, and yet, you know, they're looking down on the clean and shaved or whatever person freshly going to work. They're looking down on them. That is the ego. You know what I'm saying? And they're in rags and they stink, and you know, people pissed close to where they're laying down on the pavement and stuff like that. You know, and yet they're still looking down on people in that state and begging for money at the same time. Absolutely. Think, oh, look got these idiots here on their way to work. You know, I mean, I don't have to go to work. You know, we just go and ask for a few pounds, and then go off to the office, buy some booze, and who knows, maybe you have enough to get some crack or whatever else they fancy. You know, there you go, and got them trapped in that world there. Some of them don't want to live. They when I say they don't want to leave that form of existence. You know, honestly, some of them have been offered so many chances for accommodation, and yet somehow they keep sabotaging everything, and it's always their fault. You know what I mean? And they're always everybody else's fault. You know, this is ego again. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. That's what is written. Cunning, baffling. It'll say yes, love. Yes, go get love, but you'll never find love. You know what I mean? It'll say, you know, so it's an illusion. It's the biggest illusory. It's the biggest liar on this planet. You know what I mean? Honestly, you know what I mean? Yes, that's why they say it's edging God out, because God only wants what's good for us. You know, He doesn't, like a little baby, He don't want you to go, now go jump in and experience it. Your hand getting electrified in that thing there. You know what I mean? Or something like that. No, avoid dangers. Avoid them, you know, and you know, and you got a lot of people, they've had their first drink and they were sick and they still went back. You know what I mean? And that was God, you know, the higher power within saying, look, this is not for you. You know what I mean?
Actually poison.
For real. You know? Yes, brother.
Yeah, but it's a good one. It's a very good episode.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, right. I didn't hear a bell ring. Okay, nice.
I tried to stop us getting past the 3 hour mark.
We could just be
sorry about that.
We could talk all day. I love it.
We could actually talk all day. That's why I have to. We'll probably do a part 2.
I was just going to say, you're coming back next week?
Anytime, bro.
Same time.
Keep it going.
From Rehab.
Yes, From Rehab to Live podcast, and we'll see you next week with our brother Wesley.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.